Joining us right now to discuss the election and the economy is former White House Chief of Staff and now Actum Strategic Advisor co-chair Mick Mulvaney is here, and on the set, John Hope Bryant at the table, Operation Hope founder, chairman, and CEO, now a CNBC contributor as well. Good morning to both of you. I want to start, if I could, just for half a minute, if we could, on Biden and what your view is, because there seems to be, and we've talked about it over the last couple of weeks, a sort of shifting wind, even within the Democratic Party, about whether he is up for the job. And I'm looking at Jon Stewart, and I'm looking at some of the editorials that you're reading and other things. And a lot of folks are saying, well, if you're going to knock Biden, that all of a sudden, therefore, you are for Trump. And other people are saying, well, no, if you're not for Biden, you're for somebody else trying to get in there. I'm curious how you think about that.
I think that it's not even a fair comparison. I think, you know, the chief executive officer of this nation is not just a financial auditor or a financial or a money manager. It's the leader of the spirit of this of a country that's not a country, is an idea. And what are our ideas? Are we rude and obnoxious and cutting each other into three parts? I think that we need somebody who's going to figure out whether we're better together. That person may be a little older than you like, may not be the greatest marketer in the world. But by the way, the fundamentals right now are pretty strong. The jobs report was pretty dang on incredible. The market is up. Inflation's going down. Things are heading in the right direction. Maybe people don't want excitement and wonder right now. Maybe they want stability. Maybe they want to get back to, maybe smart is sexy and normal is cool. I just think that you don't have an option, Andrew. The other option tears us asunder.
The latest NBC poll, 22% more people wanted Trump to run the economy than Biden. 22%.
How about raise your children? How about
we're not talking about that. I'm just talking about in that poll and who can manage the economy better with all the things you said.
Secretary of the Treasury, if you like. I mean, look, this is a ridiculous conversation.
Fine. Go to what are you going to say? And then we'll go back to Mick.
No, I just think that, look, we have never, I guess after President Lincoln was assassinated, we have not had a more complicated choice of a non-choice ever. And I think that what we need is somebody who has a Democratic heart and a Republican head. You need a radical movement of common sense. You need somebody who can figure out whether we're better together, because there are countries, 4 of them, that want to take our place in this world. And they want us to divide. And the person who's not dividing us wins in the largest economy on the planet. So I think I've answered your question without naming names. Look, the president's not the greatest marketer in the world.
Mick,
but the fundamentals are strong.
Mick, do you think the fundamentals are strong?
I do. By the way, good morning. I wish I had known John Hope would be on set. I would have tried to get to New York. I always enjoyed doing this with him and with. I do think the fundamentals are very, very strong. But of course, what you're seeing is it's not translating into support for President Biden. That is rare. Ordinarily, you know, Bill Clinton's admonition that it's the economy stupid is right. But you're not seeing a correlation right now between the economic numbers and Joe Biden's approval, which either tells me that there's another issue. Could be the border, by the way. I thought that New York special election a week or so ago was very instructive in that Tom Suozzi ran on closing the border and won as a Democrat. So it could be the border is driving the politics right now, or it could be the age issue. It absolutely is. I don't think it's a meaningless conversation to talk about his age. I think everything that John Hope just said is right. I just don't know if the average voter looks at that the same way that he does.
Mick, people I don't even think they're back to their buying power from before Biden took office. I mean, to leave out inflation and what you see at the grocery store, when real wages didn't start rising till last May, and he's been president since 2020. So if you've got less buying power and you go and you can't even live as well as you did in 2019, you don't need a better marketer to tell you, oh, you're eating hamburger helper without hamburger, but you're better off. I mean, that's like letting me cake. I'll give you I'll give you what your argument can be, Mick, but you're here, to make a compelling side from that side of things. And you said things are great. People just don't know how great it is.
Because he's honest.
That's your answer.
No, I don't think I said that, Joe. I don't think you said the numbers are good.
You can just say, take it away, Joe.
Joe,
Go ahead, man.
The GDP numbers are good, Joe. This is my point. The stuff that people read about in the news is right. What they're experiencing in their own lives is not. John and I have talked about this before. If you already own your home, if you've already started to save for retirement, things are pretty good. But if you're in the middle to the bottom of the economic scale and you're going paycheck to paycheck, things are not any better for you. And if it is the economy stupid, then Biden probably loses the election. You and I are not disagreeing. There's just a disconnect, I think, between what folks at the top of the scale see and folks in the middle and the bottom of the scale see right now economically.
Well, that's notwithstanding the age issue, which is, John, you keep dancing around it. You know, he's this, he's that, he's a good character, he's that. He's going to be president 4 or 5 years from now, John.
You know, you had a president that was in a wheelchair before, right? You know, you had a president that had. Oh, I mean, look. I mean,
this. I have no idea what that even means. When
because you've had people who are less than 100% on what.
Not mentally. Not.
Well, I don't think he. I wouldn't suggest age would suggest somebody is mentally.
I'm not saying age would either, but watching their mental.
I think he's solid. I think that mentally
well, you have
solid.
To say that.
We'll make you Secretary of the Treasury and just call us today. But let's get back to the point of what Mick just said about the economy.
86% of the people do not think that he's all there. 86%.
If you talk to people in my community, 100% of the people think that the former president has some character issues. Let's get back to what actually matters, which is what Joe and Andrew mentioned. I think you, Joe, I think you and Andrew, Mick, would agree with this. Our clients at Operation Hope are feeling that when the interest rates went up, they had an immediate hit to their pockets. And as we're having this soft landing everybody's talking about, they're having a slower rebound, which is now, Joe, agreeing with you. And the largest issue is their consumer debt, the credit cards, which is over $1 trillion now. But no different than what we're doing with Delta employees, we're finding that the financial coaching work, the financial literacy work is actually bringing them back into alignment. Their debt's down, their savings up, their credit scores up, their hope is returning. And we can get a small decrease in interest rates mid-year. I think you'll see the average consumer rebound in their confidence. It does not have to be significant. It has to be a signal that their gas costs and their food costs are going to start reducing their living costs. And they can buy a house.